me ask you something. You go to work. You're working with somebody you've worked with for 30 years. And they say to you, if you've ever really seriously considered alternative citizenship, you should really consider it right now. How do you take that? What is that friend trying to say to you? Stu?
I mean, it could be that I have information that I'm going to give to the government about your illegal poker games.
What the hell is that?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about it a little bit.
Uh-huh. This is what he said to me in the break. We were talking about other things. We were like, okay, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this. And by the way, Glenn, if you've ever really considered alternative citizenship, now is probably the time to do it. I'm like, excuse me, what? 10 seconds. Wait a minute, what?
My thought process there was, there was a truce of sorts in our country where you didn't go after your political enemies with the force of law. The Democrats decided, if you remember recently,
I do,
that they were going to break that truce and just dissolve all of the traditions that we had in that area.
Correct.
By trying to throw Donald Trump in prison over and over and over again. Now, you may have noted that we are having a situation where I think this is going to be the norm going forward. And when the next Democrat gets in office, I'm not saying you're at the top of the list to get thrown into a gulag, but you're not at the bottom of it.
Right.
So
okay.
this
and you're just going to skate. You're just fine.
Oh, I turn state's evidence immediately on you. The easiest thing in the world for me, because I can just go in there and be like, "Oh, let me tell you all the stuff I know about Glenn," and they're gonna, I'm free. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But I do think Donald Trump's not going to be president forever.
What country?
Well, imagine if AOC is the president of the United States.
Oh, please don't.
Do you think there's going to be? And by the way, not completely outlandish. She's right in the, I would say, middle of the pack right now in the Democratic primary if she were to run. And you never know what's going to happen. There's a bunch of different things.
That could never happen. Oh, by the way, Mom Dummy looks like there's absolutely no way of stopping him from being mayor
of New York.
But anyway, go ahead. What was your point?
So my point is, what someone like that gets into office? Into office?
It is. If
they're going to come after anyone who's ever said anything about low taxes.
If anybody thinks, we must win the midterms, and we must win 2028. Because he has come after. When he starts saying you're a terrorist organization, and which I believe, Antifa is a terrorist organization. When you say I'm coming after George Soros, Bill Gates, and the Ford Foundation, all of these things, you have declared war, and they are not. When they have the opportunity to punch back, they are going to punch back. God help us.
Yeah.
God help us. He's either got to wipe it out, or we're screwed. We're screwed.
And look, we could all you hope for the best and prepare for the worst, right? And
so what country is going to be the country? First of all, I would never shut up. So I go to anywhere. I go to Antarctica. I'm organizing the penguins. You know what I mean? I'm like, we got to go back into America and free America. So where do you go where the United States? Remember how they were uniting people, under Biden, they were trying to get Elon Musk, destroy him in like 4 different countries. So where do you go? You go nowhere.
Well, first of all, as someone who's known you for 30 years, it's true you never shut up, including at movie theaters and concerts and funerals.
Concerts?
Yes, and so that's number one. I do agree with you on that part of it. I think like your goal in a situation like that, and you've probably put more thought into this than I have, but like with your goal into a situation where a government has become weaponized to come after you, is to move your name down the list. And one of the ways you do that is you just add barriers. Like if you're at your house in Texas, they just show up. if you're in another country, they got to make a few phone calls. I mean, just add barriers. There's a lot of people they're going to target. Make yourself lower on the list.
Yeah, you're in another country. You know what comes to mind? 2 words. Red mist. That's what comes to mind, And if they're back in charge with big food and big pharma, they're like, red mist, put it on the Fruit Loops.
It's very inexpensive artificial coloring.
Very good. It's very good. All right, let me take some phone calls. Tammy in Virginia, welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Hi.
Hi, Tammy.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. It's your turn.
Now's the time. We have not done this in a while. Apparently, it's more difficult than I remember.
Yeah, now's your time.
I got it.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
Okay. When I was taught, I was thinking if a civil war came to the country, it would be between the people on the streets. Never did I ever dream that it would be government officials like in Illinois and California, not listening to the laws, not listening to the administration.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, where does this lead?
Well, let me just say this, Tammy. It's a little like I'm an alcoholic. And for several years, before I admitted I was an alcoholic, I would ask myself every day, am I an alcoholic? When you're asking the question, pretty good shot, you're deeply down that road, okay? So if you're asking, is this going to develop into a civil war? I've never asked that before, up until recently. You know what I mean? I've lived for 62 years. I've lived in America. Never had that thought. We're going to go into a civil war. Never had that thought. Okay. Now you kind of ask yourself every day, if they're doing this and they are blocking the feds from actually doing constitutionally what they're supposed to do, and that is then triggers the Constitution on an insurrection, which would mean the government then has the right and the power to go into those states and put down an insurrection. Yeah, I don't think we need to ask ourselves, where is that leading? We know where that's leading. It's no place good. But there is a difference. Are we in a civil war? Again, I go back to the alcoholic thing. You don't need to ask that question. When it comes,
So wait, you're saying we are in a civil war because
No,
you're
we're-
asking the question, or
No,
you're
no.
saying that we're
I'm saying that the likelihood of going into a civil war is higher than any other time in my lifetime, because we're all asking that question of, is this going to lead to a civil war? What happens? Yeah, so we're all asking this question because we all have the same feeling. I can't find the way out of this because they're using police to go against federal police. So you've got that conflict.
That's bad, but that's not civil war.
No. I know. I said it's more likely to happen because we're seeing these things. When you go into a civil war, no one's going to ask, is this a civil war? Because civil wars are quite obvious. It's not like, it's a police action. No, civil war will destroy everything. It's how we turn into Haiti. You don't want a civil war. You want to do everything you can to avoid a civil war.
So is it like, Michael Moore walks into a restaurant?
Yes.
First of all, the chefs are terrified, but walks into a restaurant and
The
sits down
owner
at the
is
table.
very happy.
Right.
He's just like, we're going to run out of food. Somebody go out and get more.
So Michael Moore walks into a restaurant, sits down at a table, looks across the restaurant, and across the restaurant, on the other side of the restaurant, is Jennifer Aniston.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
don't know where you're going with this, but it's an interesting scenario so far.
He eats Jennifer Aniston. No, walking into the restaurant, the chances of Michael Moore having a fling with Jennifer Aniston were incredibly low, like almost zero.
Right.
Now that they're in the same location, the odds are increased. However, still, it's very unlikely. Would you say that's where we are with civil war?
If he's mixing her drinks, the odds go up. Now, who's mixing our drinks?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you're saying it's not necessarily a high probability event of a civil war.
No, but it is becoming more. It is becoming more and more likely. It doesn't mean that it's high. I think we're at 15% now.
15%? You think it's that high for a civil war?
Yeah, maybe 20.
Holy crap, that's depressing.
I mean, Stu,
this is what I'm saying about citizenship.
I know.
Let's go somewhere else.
War game this. You have people who are intentionally funding a color revolution.
But you've been talking about this for 20 years.
Right, and notice things are starting to happen and come true. When I was talking about it, remember, that's when everybody's like, that's crazy.
Yes, yeah.
We're gonna watch TV on our phones too. Okay,
right.
Now all this stuff is happening, and everything that I told you was like, these people are all going to work together to do this, and it's going to be a color revolution. We now have proof that they are doing a color revolution here in America, and they're funding it to $300 million for the No Kings weekend. Okay, we know what their intent is. So we also know that, did you see the stuff on Snap? Look at this. So they're now saying that we're gonna run out of money for Snap.
Right. Okay? Some states are starting to get to that point.
Right. You look at X and you'll see person after person after person. Americans, you got to get ready to loot after Snap is going to get canceled.
And Snap's the food stamps.
Food stamps.
The new name for food stamps.
So,
we don't know.
We can't get a job. We won't have any food. And there's people that are seriously now saying we should riot.
And lots of influence from foreign governments.
Absolutely.
That might own particular apps that you're on.
Correct. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's real. There was this book called Positioning, the Battleground of Your Mind. It was what started and explained the Cola Wars. Okay, Pepsi versus Coke came out in the early '80s, and
that's the kind of civil war I like, by the way.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm into that.
And what it talked about was perception is reality, and when you perceive something one way and the society perceives it one way, then it becomes reality. The perception here for a lot of people on the left is the only way to solve this is through violence. And that's becoming more, I would say I'm hopeful that it's less than 5% of our population believes that violence is the answer. But that number is growing, and the apathy toward violence, political violence, is growing probably faster than the actual people that would commit the violence, right?
Yeah, and I do think, when you talk about social media, perception's an interesting part of that, right? Like, so it's why they say in relationships, in your marriage, like, don't talk about divorce, like, don't threaten divorce when you don't mean it, because it becomes closer and closer to reality. So I can see what you're saying from that standpoint. I think a lot of people have this idea, maybe it's because some spend their weekends for free reenacting the Civil War, that it might not be that bad. It would be very bad, very bad. It's not something that you want to keep bringing to the forefront of our political conversation.
No.
I will say that. No. I know you're warning against it for sure.
I'm not advocating, obviously.
I know.
I am warning. That's my job, is to warn for anybody who has eyes and ears. Listen up. This is the plan from the left. The government has now recognized that and is trying to curb that, but they're dead serious about color revolution. And so when you know that is happening, you have to put in gear the opposite direction. We have to go the opposite direction and try at all costs to hold things together, keep people peaceful as long as possible to hopefully turn this corner, because a corner is being turned. But as the light grows stronger, would you agree with me that the light, since Charlie's death, the light has grown stronger? Okay, I believe it has. Good is starting to wake up. But at the same time, the darkness is growing darker. Can you disagree with that in the last 5 weeks? Have you not seen real darkness Of course, that's the way it always works. It's a race to the finish line. Let's stay on the right side of the light.